In a strange turn of history, the threat of global nuclear war has gone down, but the risk of a nuclear attack has gone up. More nations have acquired these weapons. Testing has continued. Black market trade in nuclear secrets and nuclear materials abound. The technology to build a bomb has spread. Terrorists are determined to buy, build, or steal one.
The United States and Russia have done a lot together to make sure that the vast amount of material in Russia has had improved security placed around it, and then some of that cooperation has extended to other countries in South Asia, in China. But the problem is we have weak links in the system, and we don't have a systematic way to address these weak links, and it's one of the big challenges that we have to face.
It is not as difficult to make an atomic bomb as many people think. Many people imagine the Manhattan Project, billions of dollars. How could terrorists possibly put together something like that? What people don't realize is that more than 90% of the effort in the Manhattan Project was devoted to making the nuclear material. Once you have the nuclear material, putting it together into at least a crude nuclear bomb is unfortunately not as difficult as we would hope.
A lot of attention has been put after 9/11 on the terrorist attacks and on the fact that terrorists could get some material, HEU, plutonium, weapons-grade plutonium, to make a real nuclear bomb. A second scenario would be that some thieves would take this type of material and sell it to a proliferator country that then would engineer a bomb. A third one is a dirty bomb. So you take some nuclear material with an explosive, traditional explosive device, and you contaminate an area.
You can transit nuclear material through virtually any country in the world. We have a globalized economy that's growing by leaps and bounds in terms of transit of materials from country to country.
The problem with knowing exactly how much material there was or went missing relates to the fact that doing inventory of fissile materials is a very significant undertaking. And the Soviet Union and Russia, when they were transitioning from one system of accounting to the new way of doing things after the collapse, it took many years to catch up with doing proper inventory. In some places, they haven't even finished it yet. Things have changed since the early 90s, and we don't really see the actual seller anymore. We see the middleman. And when it comes to buyers, we also see mostly middlemen of the buyer as well. It seems like whatever process is unfolding in terms of the illicit trafficking of nuclear materials, either the perpetrators became much smarter and they have more sophisticated way of dealing with the business, or the buyers are also very cautious.
The episodes that we've seen of smugglers having this kind of material have so far mostly been not very professional smugglers, not only not organized crime, but in some cases what I like to call comically disorganized crime. But the obvious question is, of what iceberg are we seeing the tip? Is it that it's only the comically disorganized people who get caught, and there are other more organized people who aren't getting caught?
A Nuclear Terrorism Act, anywhere in the world, if it's in a major city, anywhere in the world, whether it's the United States or Europe or South Asia or Asia itself, will be a game changer, not just for the global economy, which is so connected now through globalization, but it will be, I think, a political and security game changer.
People tend to think that if you don't have nuclear power, and of course you don't have nuclear arms, then many people seem to think that then there's no danger in our country.
In industry and hospitals, there are radiological sources that can be used to create dirty bombs, for example. Not all hospitals, not all industrial applications of radiological materials are concentrated enough for that purpose, but there are some that really are.
If you look at the kind of security measures that countries have for diamonds or gold or money, they're much tougher.
For a long time, the only international requirement through the Convention for the Physical Protection of Nuclear Material was on transporting materials. Well, several years ago, countries decided that's not really enough. We need some standards for the physical protection of this nuclear material at home, domestically. And what does that practically mean? You know, in the US, it's guns, guards, and gates. Other places don't use guns. I'm sure most of them have guards and gates, but how many gates you need? Do you need triple barbed wire? Do you need special electronic kinds of seals, and all the rest of that is not mandated by any treaty.
We must ensure that terrorists never acquire a nuclear weapon. This is the most immediate and extreme threat to global security. One terrorist with one nuclear weapon could unleash massive destruction. Al-Qaeda has said it seeks a bomb and that it would have no problem with using it. And we know that there is unsecured nuclear material across the globe. To protect our people, we must act with a sense of purpose, without delay.
So, have we accomplished something during the course of this 4-year effort? Yes, we've made major progress, but there's still many places where the security is not what it would need to be to counter the kinds of threats that terrorists and criminals have shown they can pose. We need to move beyond thinking about a 4-year effort and thinking about nuclear security as something that is ongoing and that you have to think in terms of continual improvement. If you ever say, I'm done, then you will become complacent and you'll start going back downhill.
The top weak link right now is political. The two things that worry me most are political will and political complacency. So in other words, the weak links exist from a technical standpoint, but if we don't have the political will to address them and to improve that situation, that is not going to result in the elimination of those weak links. The political complacency problem is that some countries don't think there is a problem.
There is not the one international governance system which really in a comprehensive way, sustainable way, would include, well, as many countries as possible. It should be universal. It means it should be going beyond the summit process participants, because after all it's restricted, and it's mainly a political event. A very important one, but it doesn't lead to legal obligations.
And the hope is that states will regard the nuclear security area, like they increasingly regard nuclear safety, as absolutely essential if they're going to be a good global citizen. It just needs continued political attention to it. And I guess my biggest fear for the future is that the United States and other interested players will drop the ball once the summits end or start to wind up their work.
So, well, actually, Nuclear Security Summit is composed of lots of efforts and voluntary commitments by the participating states. It does not create any additional international obligations which should be imposed upon the participating states. However, beyond 2016, we need a more sustainable and robust international regime. So in that case, in order to achieve this kind of goals, I think, well, there must be a certain international instruments which is legally binding on the participating states.
I think the main area of work that needs to be involved or needs to be pursued is how do you help states understand how they can collaborate together on a common problem in ways that will not hurt their security, but will enhance it and not hurt their sovereignty, but protect it. And that comes from having meetings like the Nuclear Security Summit process, where these things can be talked about. It needs candor at these meetings, and it needs people to be willing to push the envelope. Because if all they're going to do is settle for the low-hanging fruit, then at the end of the Nuclear Security Summit process, we'll continue to face the threat of nuclear terrorism.
What's your country doing to enhance global nuclear security?
Que fait votre pays ou votre compagnie pour contribuer aux efforts de sécurité nucléaire au niveau national et international?
А что ваша страна делает для укрепления globale ядерной безопасности?
Hvad gør Danmark for at styrke nuklear sikkerhed?